So if you're in, no, he says stop 75 stance now. So if you're ruling, if in your commentary, you make a pronouncement that you, as the speaker, and you are not the speaker, then you have no business to be there. I am not in any way endorsing that act. But that notwithstanding, the commentary, the pronouncement from Honorable Joe Wise was unwarranted. Because if you go to a funeral with a fist, you call for blows. And that is what you must know. So if we really want a balanced discussion, his statement, his commentary was unwarranted. And that gave birth to that response. And for me, we have hanged Parliament because of behavior from both MPP and NDC.
Point well made.
And that must be established.
Point well made.
We need a balanced discussion so that people will know that
vigorously so.
if you are pushing against the NDC, push against the NPP when they go wrong.
Dr.
Japan started it, Kalasahan Crack gave birth to it. Joe West himself ended it, and he got the reaction there and then.
Briefly.
No.
Before we go to
what I want to say is that me, I'm just looking at the footage.
If
you have to be very honest, which side of the house started charging? Look at the footage.
Because you say you are not the speaker. No. If you are not the speaker, then don't sit in that chair.
So is that your solution? No, is that the solution?
You are chairing a meeting.
You see,
you are chairing a meeting.
One second.
You see, because someone has made a statement that you disagree with, that is not a license for you to charge.
No, you see, let's be clear here. You sit here as the host, and you make an announcement. I am not the host again. Why must you sit in this chair? Then vacate that chair.
Is it up to you to
vacate that chair? And you see, it will be difficult for him.
If you do that,
if the National Peace Council set in, if the National Peace Council set in properly, I'm giving a prophecy today. Any time to watch chair meeting in Parliament, then this will not compromise. I'm telling you, because you have given a pronouncement that you are not the speaker. So what is your business to sit in the speaker's chair?
It is not up to the MP for a chairman to declare whether he is speaker or not.
He has declared himself already.
He was properly elected.
Gentlemen.
He was properly elected. If you do that, some members begin to think that the NDC, I think they are still living in their militant past.
That's unfair.
Can I make a ruling? Can I make a ruling?
We need consensus building in Parliament.
Yes, I know.
The posture of the MPP still let them think that they have the absolute majority. They don't.
And the numbers
137, 137.
The numbers will speak. Can I rule now?
Yeah, you can do that.
We'll take a quick breather. I'll read a couple of messages. I'll go to Valerie, and then I'll come back to you. Does that work?
That's fine.
It works.
Upheld.
Hashtag GTV Breakfast. It's a hot Monday morning. I want to read your messages. The mindset of Africans that unless we depend on white people is outdated and we have to abstain from it. This is a GJ. Thank you so much. A couple more and then I'll dash off to Valerie to talk about what's happening. Good morning. Ministers banned from foreign travels by who? By the president. That's the directive. It's simple and sweet. I can answer that question right now. There cannot be two substantive speakers at any one time. That is also the fact. Yes, there'll be a speaker and then a deputy, first deputy, second deputy. So, Rose, good morning. There's a situation at Ajen Kotoku. Okay, this is a good one. The drivers are on strike. This is making workers to be stranded. No public transport is allowed to go out of the town. Roads have been blocked as well. So a message at Ajen Kotoku. We will jump on that and come back with some feedback for you. Valerie is ready to keep an eye on something in the town.
We are keeping an eye on the very small strikes that's happening with the transport union. But a couple of people from the newsroom they are not at work yet because they say that somewhere around Medina, Hacho area, apparently there are no vehicles alleged. So we might want to take a look at that.
Over to you.
Sure. So we're keeping an eye somewhere in Ghana with my guy Alan. Alan is already behind me. We're looking at the strikes and the pockets of striking that's happening. Is there really a strike going on? There are cars on the road. Our guys will give us the exact what's happening exactly on the ground. So Alan, good morning. He's at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle Odorna branch of the GPRTU. Alan.
Hi, good morning, Valerie. How are you? And welcome to a very rather cool, bright Monday morning. We're keeping an eye at the Odorna GPRTU station. Indeed, the hashtag to follow on Keep an Eye is GTV Breakfast. By way of background, you recall how a week or so ago I was at this very station to interact with the Drivers Union chairman or secretary, Mr. Omari, his name was at the time, who basically brought us up to speed with what the decision had been relative to fuel price increases as placed before Parliament in the budget for 2022. Indeed, at the time, they mentioned how they have interacted with government to find out if there could be a possibility of a reduction in fuel prices to enable them to apply their trade effectively and efficiently, and also, let me add, profitably. They placed before government the need to reduce, or else government will have to face their wrath. Indeed, they gave a certain timeline, and you will recall how they engaged government, for which reason we're told the budget statement was postponed from Monday to a Wednesday in order to make room to listen to them. Indeed, that came and passed, and nothing seemed to have changed. And for that matter, they issued a statement yesterday to the members to stay away, sit down, as they call it, not attend to any work. It does therefore present a very interesting front, to say the least, that even though a certain strike or sit down was declared as late as last night, there isn't a unified striking front. And so you have, on the one hand, those who are working claiming they did not know about it, and those who are not working and saying they are in support. Indeed, I have come once again to speak to Mr. Omari, who is the welfare secretary at the Odorna station, to bring us up to speed to what the situation really is. Indeed, I tried speaking to Mr. Abbas on his advice, but his number did not go through. And so, again, I am going to speak to him to find out where we are. Good morning, Mr. Omari. Thank you for joining us on #GTV Breakfast.
Good morning. Good morning.
Mr. Omari, news reaching us last night, or information reaching us last night, that you are sitting down this morning and you're not working. But when we arrived here, there seemed to be a certain work going on. You have, on the one hand, those who are working, and also some pockets of spaces indicating that some are not working. Why is this so?
Well, thank you very much. It is true that there was a decision by the national officers that we should not work today, from today. And so that decision is what we are implementing. But fortunately or unfortunately, this morning when I got here, I had a message from my welfare chairman, Brother Jacob Odai. He is the first national trustee. He told us to resume work and that he will come down himself to brief us what has happened. So what has happened that we should work, in fact, I cannot tell. But that's the directive I received from my chairman. Unfortunately, other stations don't have the message. That's why you see they are not working.
Does that mean there is a problem with your system of communication?
I cannot tell, because this is direct. I called him direct and he gave me that information. So I don't know how others will also get the information this moment.
If that is so, do you not think that perhaps you have inconvenienced Ghanaians for no just cause?
I don't think so. Every misfortune is a blessing. I don't think so. It's a way we all want to fight for ourselves. We want to fight for the ordinary man on the street so that he will not pay more for transportation.
Well, a blessing it may seem to the GPRTU, but for those members of the public who, as I speak to you, haven't been able to make it to work due to no fault of theirs, but your side not necessarily disseminating information properly in order that they will get to their destinations, would you not sympathize with them in this regard and perhaps find a way to compensate?
Well, I sympathize with them, but as I said, you see, when there's a fight, sometimes some of you fall, others will not fall. So that's how it is. So let's take it like that. Every misfortune is a blessing. Thank you.
Well, I am really struggling to understand how this will be a blessing, especially for those members of the public who, through no fault of theirs, are still home. And as I speak to you, if you go to places like Ashama, we're told, well, I haven't confirmed that, but there is a certain lack of ferrying of people from one destination to the other. These are holding on to the sit down. What would you say to those members of Ashama or at Ashama who are not working at the moment?
Well, as I said, I had the information direct from my boss, because he happens to be an executive officer at the national level. So gradually the information will get to everybody what we should do. So that's one, there's nothing I can do about it.
You have the opportunity to perhaps put out a call. There are those who are sitting not working. Would you call on them to return to work, or since they have already started, you're going to follow?
Yes, those I can reach, I've asked them to work. But others that I cannot reach, that's one, there's nothing I can do about it.
Now, going forward, what is your position? Has it changed from your earlier call to government to consider fuel price reductions? And if that is not going to change, and there's no sign currently on the part of government to say there is going to be a change immediately, if even in the foreseeable future, what would you do?
Well, thank you very much. I think, as I said, I don't know what happened that my boss asked us to work. So when he comes and briefs us, then we'll know the next line of action. Thank you.
And so for as long as we wait, it would still be a matter of waiting. And for those who are not working, they will still have to keep on not working, right?
Well, the information will go by all means, but they may start late, but still the information will go.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Omari, for joining us. We're very grateful having you to speak to us, and also making it clear how information went and why the situation we have at hand is. Thank you really very much. So coming back to you, Valerie, this is the situation. You will find the last time we were here that, in fact, the station was very active. But this morning, we have pockets of spaces with parking slots really next to nothing. There's no parking, there's no trotros there. And you have those stations who are also not necessarily working, all in the name of a lack of information or a certain information that did not necessarily go around. You also have some of the trotros parked with mates and drivers sleeping in them. I spoke to a few of them, and they're saying, whoever I speak to says, go and speak to our chairman, go and speak to our secretary. At this point, I am tempted to think there has been a certain caution to them not to speak to the media. Indeed, Mr. Omari himself, first of all, asked that I spoke to Mr. Abbas, whose number he gave me, and I tried a few times and was not successful reaching him. This has been keep an eye at the Odona station. We're keeping an eye on the traffic, the sit-down strike situation as it is. We will continue to keep an eye, and we'll bring viewers whatever there is, or if anything comes up. Thank you very much, Valerie. I'm back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Alan. So we've been speaking to Alan, and he came to us from the GPRTU office at the Circle Odona Transport area. And from what we saw, some people are striking, others are not striking. But yesterday there was a communique from the Coalition of Commercial Transport Operators in Ghana, the Northern Regional Branch, and they said that in pursuance of the directive of the Coalition of Commercial Transport Operators in Ghana, all branches and locals of the GPRTU, Northern Region, and all affiliates of the coalition in the Northern Region are to embark on a sit-down strike from 5 a.m. on Monday, 6th December 2021. So we are going to be crossing cameras, and we're going to go to a correspondent in the Northern Region. But he's telling us that the strike has been called off, not called off. He'll give us the 411 and actually what's happening on the ground. Murtala, good morning. So those are scenes from what I believe a transport station.
Thank you very much, and you are welcome to the Tamale Bus Stop Terminal just behind the State Transport Corporation, and this is where most buses load passengers to various parts of the country. Kumasi, Wale, Paga, Takoradi, all of them load in this station. The information we had yesterday in the evening was that the GPRTU and together with the coalition were going on a sit-down strike. This morning, after getting here, we are getting the signal that they have been asked by their official executives at the national level to call off the strike because the president has intervened, and they are meeting with their national executives shortly to reach out to them and agree on their terms. Now, they are demanding basically a reduction in the taxes that government has put on fuel products. A while ago, before I got here, we had these tricycles across the metropolis massing up at the Shogun about, and they were basically trying to prevent their colleagues who are working to stop working as a result of the strike. But we are just getting signals that they have called off the strike. We are here with Alhaji Ahmed Yusuf. He is the GPRTU secretary for the Kumasi station. Tamale Kumasi station. Alhaji, thank you very much and good morning. What can you tell us? Do we know what is the state of the strike currently?
Okay.
Alhaji, if you could speak up a bit for me. Yeah.
We intended going on strike.
Yeah.
But later, our leaders told us we should hold on for the meantime.
Okay.
And later, anything that happens, they will tell us.
So right now, as it stands, you are loading
Yes.
you are loading passengers.
We are loading passengers.
Do we know why this strike has been called?
Yeah, it's because of the fuel price.
Do we know why the strike has been called?
Oh, no. We don't know.
Okay. And let me indicate that right here in the station where with Alhaji when some GPRT officials came in to tell them to call off the strike just about 5 minutes ago. And so already the buses have started loading. You can hear wow, 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 wow. And this is a bus that is loading to in the Upper West region. Not too far from here, if you can see, there is this red bus. It is loading passengers to Kumasi. And so it is, passengers here are quite excited. Most of them were stranded earlier on. They didn't even know about this, and then suddenly they were asked to go back to their various homes because the coalition is on strike. This would have impacted seriously on socio-economic activities in the northern region, possibly across the country. But the information we are just gathering is that they have called off this strike. Over to you in the studio, Accra.
It was Mutala who came to us with what's happening in the northern region, and from what he said, some officials have told the leaders of the station that they should call off the strike, and so the strike has been called off. But we do assure you that we'll continue to monitor the situation and bring you updates as to what's happening on this strike. Kaf.
Hey.
Hand it over to you and your gentleman.
Thank you very much. Quick thoughts on strikes that have not struck. I'll start with you first, Dr. Adamiji.
It appears in Ghana everything's divided now. We are all divided.
Even the strikes, eh?
I think strike by the drivers is not the best thing for our country because the economy runs on transport. So if for whatever reason they have certain concerns, government must sit down with them and then talk instead of waiting for it to get to this point. And I think that some movement have taken place. So that's why they decided strike or not to strike. But I'm glad that they decided to call off the strike. That's the most important because workers want to go to work. Others want to go about their business. So I think the government must sit down with these transport unions and then try to listen to their concerns. And if possible, try to address some, if not all the concerns. I know no government can address all the concerns of all of that. But at least government must send a signal that I'm prepared to listen, I'm prepared to engage, and then also, because they are also Ghanaians, okay, and they are the people doing the work on the ground. So I think government must seriously sit up, and I know it is all about the fuel. And if there are so many taxes on the fuel and people are crying, why don't government listen to them and then do something about it? And I think with this goodwill that is coming from the drivers, government would also take advantage of it and reciprocate that. This is what we expect from government.
Bernard?
Yes, I think that should this strike indeed protract, it is the ordinary Ghanaian that suffers. Because when two big elephants fight, the grasses suffers the danger thereof. In my candid view, I think that it is the essence of this thing that you have sector ministers. So if the transport minister could sit down for this thing to degenerate into this level, I think that he wasn't quite proactive enough. For me, I listened to one of the executives as Valerie interviewed him, and he did indicate that the president has intervened. We must not always get to a level whereby issue degenerate and the presidency gets involved. Then it suffices to say that some of the sector ministers are not on top of issues. That is what it tells me. But that notwithstanding, I mean, BNI, I think they pick a lot of intelligence on the ground. I listened to Mr. Honorable Kojo Mpieni, the former President Kufuor's chief of staff.
Kenny, yes.
Yeah, and he said that President Kufuor had a certain telephone number when he was a president, and he never changed it. And that number was made available to people in most communities that his ministers were not aware. Yes, so after 7 p.m., President Kufuor will be calling people, let's say Ablekuma, Kaukudi, wherever, and be getting feedback from things happening there. On the ground. Yeah. So there were times, if you're a second minister, you meet President Kufuor, he will tell you that, in your area, this thing is happening, you are aware, then the minister will be seated there. So I think that some of the upcoming president must learn from those tactics. Make yourself available and accessible. And when you do, some of these things won't happen. Because if indeed the president is so accessible and available by some of these strategies of President Kufuor, you make yourself available and accessible, you get some intelligence. Because if you are proper intelligence, they shouldn't even declare strike in the first place.
You know, what you said reminds me of a conversation I had with one of the mourners at President Rawlings' funeral. I said the same, President Rawlings adopted the same strategy. Right. There was a way that he could get information directly from people, so they could call to him directly, and then he would be able to weigh information.
You know, and the BNI and Yoko, they have informant, they pay them on their own. President Kufuor too had his own style of having his informants, and it worked for him. And that makes you more proactive than being reactive. Because if there's a bad bluff when these things come out, international communities are watching, consumers are watching, and travelers are watching. And it creates a very bad image for the presidency. So I think those managing the presidency, the sector ministers, make yourself accessible. Like President Kufuor did, and these things won't happen.
Make yourselves accessible.
What,
yes, indeed.
Bernard has said. You see, the people around the president and then the presidency, they are making the work of the president too difficult. They've built a fence around the president. People cannot have access to him. People have genuine concerns. People the president knows. He will have ways to meet them. But they ring around him. So they should watch out. They should make the president more accessible. Because at the end of the day, he is the president of the Republic of Ghana. Not for a particular group of people. They should open up.
Open up, says Dr. Anani today.
And Kafu, this is true to
you. Are creating the rings.
This was true in former President Mohammed's time. When he lost the 2016 election, you know, he cried. Watch that video the day he came out to accept defeat. You could see that he felt some people had disappointed him. You see, you can serve your 2 terms and retire as a disappointed president. You can serve your 2 terms and still retire as a disappointed president.
All righty. I'll take my last story. The president is assessing himself. Says, my government's record in agriculture, impressive, thanks to productivity improvement initiative, says Nanado. Front page of today's Finder. Of course, speaking at Cape Coast, where we were on Friday, to bring you the breakfast show from the grounds at Cedar College Park in Cape Coast. And he says basically that there's been growth and development of the agric sector, which is quite impressive. Speaking at the 37th edition of the Farmers' Day, President Akufo-Addo says his government since 2017 has set out to transform Ghanaian agriculture through investment in integrated and mutually reinforcing measures that are yielding positive results. Well, you are in agribusiness. Bernard, break down the grammar for me. Break it down for me.
You see,
break it down for me.
For this particular, apart from the president position, some of these statements are written for him, and he comes out with them, and it doesn't reflect the reality. In my candid view, you can have good intentions, but it doesn't amount to good directions. It is true that, yes, we have planting for food and job, we have Exim Bank, we have rearing for food and job. But if you look at the pricing of items today in the foodstuff market, it's skyrocketing. Today, a lot of poultry farmers are not getting maize to feed their poultry. And why must it be that a country that declares planting for food and job, there could be maize shortage in the market? As we speak today,
countrywide or in some areas?
in poultry farming community, if you speak to some of the poultry farmers association, they will tell you that the shortage of, example, yellow corn in the system, and this is something that was in abundance. You could find anywhere there's shortage. So it should tell you that yes, you put up plenty for food and job, but the dividend is not as you are being told. Now go to the cocoa sector. If you speak to most from the cocoa farming community, Bono region, and if you speak to the cocoa farmers, they will tell you the real things they go through. I think that some of these things are written for the president to create a good image for the ministry. But if you are doing key performance indicators for most of the ministers, I think the first minister that will be short and could be the great minister. Don't forget that in Ghana, over 60% of the population are in agriculture. About close to 16% are in the industry sector. But that notwithstanding, regardless of the whooping percent of the population in agriculture, contribute 18.7% to the GDP. 60% in agriculture, delivering 18% to GDP. Now, I am not putting the blame wholly only on this government. That has been the norm from Nkrumah's time to him. But if you look at the hype given to that ministry and the initiative and the programs and the policies, it's not reflecting. You see, under the former regime, there was a full-scale fertilizer given out. Under this regime came the subsidy. So under the NDC-SY government, fertilizer was given out for free. So long as you're a registered farmer, you are certified, you get fertilizer for free. Now this government came in and bought it under subsidy regime. What it means is that if you are given a fertilizer, you pay 50% of the total cost. And even with that, there's still people can't have access to fertilizer. I am in that industry. As we speak today, fertilizer is undergoing shortage in Ghana. Last year there was a lot of complaint. And the minister came out to give so many complaints. He even went to the north and donkeys were being told carrying fertilizer of Ghana to Burkina Faso.
Export what?
I don't know. So for me, yes, it is true we have. And we brought in the one village wonder. And the essence of it was to boost agricultural productivity in the country. But if you go to the northern regions, when they do a case study on that, you realize that most of the dams are not functional. It is either it was a dugout or not properly considered as a dam.
So a lot of work to be done in agriculture.
A lot of work to be done. And you see, Kafu, we have maintained that, you see, the only sector you don't need qualification agriculture. All you need is your land, your tractor, your seedlings and stuff. You get your then you are good to go. But the creating an impression that the government has done so much, so well, and that this current dispensation in agriculture is totally not true.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Odro Techi, Regional Coordinator, Commonwealth Alliance for Young Entrepreneurs West Africa. Dr. Kweku Anani-Jinde, the last word. Any experience in agriculture? Are you also a farmer?
Yeah, I'm into farming. I'm into cashew.
What do you grow? Oh, cashew.
I'm into cashew.
Is it working for you?
Yeah, it's working. And I'm also into moringa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to have a moringa factory at my village, but it got burnt. Fire caught it. And
oh, sorry.
Burnt, yeah. We were engaging almost 160 young men and women.
Okay. And the policies helped your business?
Well, I think I have other experiences, depending, because of the area in which I'm farming. And I also know that if you cross the river, the last town after Bambo, the next 2-3 villages, Carpenter, Tessilima, they're one village, one dam, they're making use of it. There's still water in it. Last 2 weeks I was there. So we shouldn't also paint the picture that it's all doom and gloom. I'm not saying that it is perfect, but we shouldn't also give the impression that nothing is working. That's what I totally disagree. Because there are certain areas where these dams or whatever you call them, people are making use of it. And when I went to visit my people at Carpenter, Tessilima and Joboy, they were making use of it.
The town is called Carpenter?
Yeah, there's a town called Carpenter. Joboy, Tessilima, that area, getting to Jama, getting to the Bui Dam area.
I see.
So I think, definitely, as a politician, what do you expect him to say?
So mixed picture.
My
government is not doing well.
My government is not doing well. No, he'll be shooting himself in the foot. So, but we also expect that politicians should also be fair and candid with us.
Indeed.
Give a balanced picture.
Right.
Instead of, I'm not saying in this case that he's exaggerated, because all past and present governments, they've all exaggerated.
All right. Thank you so much, our farming lawyer or lawyering farmer.
Both, and journalist.
And journalist, corporate governance expert, lecturer, Gimpa Law Faculty, and also a farmer.
Now, you learned one thing.
Thank you.
A disappointed priest. I wanted to be a priest. That was my dream job.
And what happened?
Oh, it's another story.
A Catholic priest? Were you going to be?
No, I was in a Catholic seminary in St. Charles. But I disappointed my bishop big time.
No, you wanted to get married.
No, I wanted to be a Catholic priest.
Yes, but then what happened?
Oh man, let's talk about it next week.
We didn't talk about the E-Levy stuff, right?
The E-Levy. Well, the E-Levy, we don't have much time, but there's a break in the front there because the minority leader says yes, easy, at a lower rate, maybe 300 CDs is the threshold, and 1%, and his party members are not in agreement.
With that. I listened to Honorable
1 minute.
Information Minister, and he said that if you don't go E-Levy, you go to IMF.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said it on City TV.
I see.
Yeah. I think that it's better to go to EMF to learn some hard lessons than to burden Ghanaians.
On that note, I'll leave you gentlemen. I'll read a couple of messages, otherwise I'll not be fair to the viewers who have been sending us lots and lots of messages. And good morning to you. Oh, don't just send me a message and say, please, good morning. Good morning back. Looking at the emoluments of the speakers of parliament, the first deputy is highest of the speaker. Well, I'm not going to talk about emoluments right now. I'm looking for messages. We're literally giving interpretation to what Joe Wise was saying. He was referring to the fact that he's an MP representing his people, so his presence counts, unlike the speaker who isn't a member of parliament. Perhaps Joe Wise should have explained you clearly. Perhaps so, yes. Communication requires clarity. If there's no clarity, then somebody may want to take your chair away from you, which would be good. My chair is here. Nobody's coming for this chair. This is my chair. If you like, come for my chair. Don't come for my chair. My chair, I'm sitting on it. I'll be back. Don't go away. Thelma is going to talk about ethics in journalism. Thelma says she's coming for my chair. If you like, come. We'll be back. Don't go. This is hashtag GTV breakfast. My chair is safe.
Ethics in journalism.
This is the breakfast show.
The show was a jar of bar and a dim.
The groom is sick.
What?
Malaria.
Malaria.
It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast.
Not just any breakfast.
Sizzling healthy.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
So what's your pleasure than Votras here at that time of the morning?
You want it served buffet style, complimentary breakfast?
On-site restaurant.
Or room service.
We've got you covered.
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.
With a trusted team.
So never skip breakfast.
On GTV Breakfast.
Live from GBC Studio 1, this is the breakfast show.
Are you ready? It's heat hot and we are serving you breakfast. A la carte.
It's a brand new packaged breakfast served on GTV, our style, keeping you on track and updated on
news making the headlines, how to navigate traffic,
what's up with the weather,
your health check, getting you up to speed on
lifestyle,
sports,
word of showbiz, what's hot and what's not.
It's our date in the morning just for you. with the team you can trust.
It's breakfast, weekdays at 6 a.m.
Don't be late.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast.
Not just any breakfast.
Sizzling healthy.
Yeah, all the time.
Okay,
let's take a peek. I brought my spine.
There are certain things that we do to help the children with their brushing.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
You want it served buffet style?
On-site restaurant.
Complimentary.
Of your plate should be vegetables. So in my lifetime, I haven't seen Ghana Black Stars win an African Cup.
Can I show what is written on the box?
Yes, definitely.
Where's the camera?
Just stand and turn.
So what's your pleasure than Votras, yeah? At that time of the morning. So never skip breakfast.
On GTV Breakfast.
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.
We've got you covered with a trusted team.
Good morning, my neighbors! Good morning! Good morning!
Good morning!
It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast.
Not just any breakfast.
Sizzling healthy.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
So what's your pleasure than Votras, yeah? At that time of the morning.
You want it served buffet style, complimentary breakfast?
On-site restaurant.
Or room service.
We've got you covered.
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.
With a trusted team.
So never skip breakfast.
On GTV Breakfast.
Live from GBC Studio 1, this is The Breakfast Show.
Staying on, and you're still watching GTV Breakfast live. And like I've said earlier, the conversations that you see on air actually start even before the camera comes on the set, and they continue after the lights go off. We are sitting into this conversation on the expectations of the media with regards to responsibility. Friday, 27th July 2001 is a date most journalists in Ghana would never forget. It is the day the criminal libel law was repealed, and it was a law that had been used to imprison a lot of journalists at the time. And so its repeal was a great day for media practitioners in Ghana, and the unanimous vote came in that year, 2001. But the repeal of the criminal law has not made the media space any freer or any less responsible of attacks and allegations of biases. And it has rather, according to some, opened the floodgates for media personnel to say whatever they want and go scot-free. It's an allegation people make over and over again. A case in point is last week Thursday, when the Nima Divisional Police arrested one popular journalist, Blessed Godbrain Smart, also known as Captain Smart, and his issues have been trending. So on the basis of that, we are asking what the media can do better. And at the table this morning to help with that analysis is lawyer Zakaria Musa Tanko. He is a lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Journalism. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning and thanks for that.
You're very welcome. We'll be joined via phone by Ernest Boateng, who is Vice President of the Ghana Independent Association, Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, GIBA, and he will be joining us via phone throughout this conversation. And let me invite you to also send your comments across to us 055-55-61034. Let us know what you think of the conduct of the media since the repeal of the criminal libel law and what you think we can do better. Mr. Tanko is here in the studio, and we are going to be talking about the repeal and everything that has come since, would you say that the repeal of the law has done us more harm than good, considering the kind of things we see on our airwaves, the things we hear on our airwaves these days?
Well, thank you very much. Well, the repeal of the criminal libel cannot, by any stretch of the imagination, be seen as something that has done us any ill or any bad, because when you look at the international requirements and standard, when you have any jurisdiction at all that criminalizes free speech, which is an inherent fundamental human right, then that particular jurisdiction is seen as operating a system that is not media friendly. So it was really long overdue, and it was just a matter of time that we had to, if we want to be part and recognized as part of the international community in terms of our media plurality and media freedom, it was just about time that we repeal it. So the repeal was necessary, was appropriate, and it was long overdue. And the intention of repealing it is just to make the work of the media easy. In other words, you don't criminalize speech. You know, there are other ways of dealing with irresponsible speech and all those things, but certainly not the criminal route. But of course, there are some schools of thought who think that, well, maybe because the media no longer, it's not being stared in the face with the criminal consequences of their action, some media personnel have become irresponsible. I mean, there are those schools of thought. But when you look at the totality of what happened or what was happening when we had the criminal libel and what is happening now, I mean, the media is the media. The media would continue to do their work, irrespective of whether you have the criminal libel or not. Of course, when the criminal libel was there, it was having a chilling effect on some media practitioners. In other words, those who were not bold would always think twice before going down one route or the other. But certainly, the repeal of the criminal libel is good for us. It has changed the way we are perceived in terms of our media outlook, and that is why increasingly we are doing very well anytime the Media Freedom Index comes out. Of course, in the last few years we have slipped a little bit, but in Africa, we're almost about 4 or 5 in Africa. So it's not bad. And partly it's because we don't criminalize speech. We have an environment that is free. I mean, we have a whole constitution. Chapter 12 of the constitution is dedicated to media freedom and independence. And when you have a constitution that recognizes that, you cannot in one breath have that and then be thinking about criminalizing speech. So yes, there may be excesses here and there, but those excesses cannot in any shape or form lead to people calling for us to consider whether or not the repeal of the criminal libel was appropriate or not. In whatever circumstances you look at it, it is appropriate. It is the best thing that has ever happened.
And I was going to follow up with a question of whether you think it hasn't brought about the case where people think they can say whatever they want and go scot-free. But let me acknowledge the presence of Ernest Boateng, who has just joined us via phone, the Vice President of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association. Good morning, Mr. Boateng. Welcome. Ernest Boateng, Vice President of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, is joining us on the phone to also add his voice to the conversation. Mr. Boateng, are you with us? I think we will establish contact with him again. So let me come back to you, Mr. Tanko.
Yeah.
We are talking about people expressing their views freely as journalists and to be able to do the work that they set themselves out to do. But the police has had the occasion to raise concern, and in the particular case of Captain Smart, the statement issued by the police described his pronouncement as unsavory, and the National Media Commission also came out to caution in a very nicely worded statement, if I can put it that way, very polite, I might say, and saying that we all have to, work within the confines of the law, basically is what they were saying. And they also acknowledged that the comments made by Captain Smart were problematic. Media General came out to emphatically defend its man, and they said that media freedom obviously gives him the right to do his work and to, you know, have his say on any issue that's going on in the country. Where do we draw the line between the pronouncement of a journalist as an opinion, and where does it cross into the arena of destabilizing the peace of the country, as the police were saying?
Yeah. So this whole concept of freedom of speech, the freedom of the media, it is something that is inherent. It is a freedom that we all are entitled to as human beings. Everybody has the right to free speech and all those things. And out of that, the media has that residual or power as well. But because the media serves as the eyes and ears of the public, we have been given a privilege, opportunity, and that is why we have been recognized in that whole chapter in the Constitution. And so the media is supposed to be free and independent in the discharge of its duties. But those freedom and independence, the same Constitution, which is the highest law of the country, recognizes that they are not absolute. They are qualified. And those qualifications would have to be determined in terms of whether or not what you are doing is in the public interest or not. Because whatever we do, no matter what profession you find yourself in, if whatever you do does not inure to the benefit of the people generally, then of course it is problematic.
The particular instances where there's an allegation of a comment being insightful and Media General defending and saying that it should not be interpreted in a manner that the police did, and also they added that they are increasingly concerned about the new trend of arrest of journalists and media practitioners. I think we will invite Ernest Boateng to join us at this point, who is joining us on the phone. He's the Vice President of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, GEBA. Mr. Boateng, good morning and welcome. Good morning, Ernest. I think we still have an issue with the line. Ernest, can you hear us? I think there's still an issue, so we'll continue.
Yeah.
So very opposing views stated by...
Yeah, so I was coming to that the freedom and independence of the media is not absolute, it's qualified. Now, remember, the media operates with a code of ethics. It's a profession that is guided by code of ethics. And when you voluntarily decide to be part of the code of ethics, then you are guided by that. Now, what differentiates the media or a media personnel from any ordinary person in terms of the way they put about things? You know, now we have the concept of citizen journalists. Everybody else can report. Because what does the media do? We report, we inform and educate people. And now, because of the advent of social media, people are doing almost the same thing that the media is doing. But what differentiates us from those ordinary people is the professionalism. And where is the guiding principles of our professionalism? The code of ethics. Now, the GJA code of ethics, you were right. The GJA code of ethics recognizes the fact that, yes, the media, you're supposed to be free, you have to be bold, people have the right to be informed, don't suppress news and all those things. But in doing so, you have to do so responsibly as well. And where's the responsibility? You should not do. If you look at the GJA code of ethics, Article 6, for instance, talks about recognizing the public right to fair, unbiased, accurate, balanced, and comprehensive information. Now, you talked about the issue about opinion. Opinion is allowed in journalism, but the Article 8 of the GJA Code of Ethics says that whenever you are expressing an opinion, you should differentiate between fact, opinion, and commentary, such that the news you are presenting should not appear as something that is being embellished. And that is why sometimes we have a challenge, because you see people presenting opinion, commentary as fact, and they don't really make that clear. And sometimes the listening public don't have media literacy, and they get confused. Now, within the same code of ethics as well, the code of ethics also recognizes the fact that good taste, avoiding unsavory language and the use of indecent language and images are also a breach of the code of ethics. Right. So the problem I think we have in the media landscape is there's some misconception about the role or the level of ethics or the consequences of breaching media ethics. Because, you know, media ethics is not law. And so when you breach ethics, worst case scenario, you get called before maybe your regulator or maybe your employers might deal with you. But you don't really face any criminal charge per se. But unfortunately, what some of our colleagues don't recognize is that there are certain code of ethics, GJA code of ethics, whose breach are also a breach of the law. And some of those breaches are even criminal. So if you're not careful and you breach those code of ethics, and it falls within those breaches that also falls within the breach of the law, then those who have the responsibility of investigating these things would also come in.
So what kind of breaches are we talking about?
So for instance, issues about promoting hatred, issues about saying things that has the tendency to breach the peace and all those things are criminal tendencies. There is even issues about, we do that a lot, disclosing identities of victims of sexual assault, issues about rejoinder. There are so many of them. They are ethics, but they are breach also a breach of the law. So when you breach these things, those with the responsibility of ensuring that there is law and order will take notice of that, and they may step in. Now the issue that I always advocate is that because of the significant role the media plays, it is always advisable that when the media in the course of its work sleeps, we should not look first at the criminal justice system as the way of resolving the issue. We should find a way of resolving the issue without necessarily triggering the criminal justice system. There is the National Media Commission route. There is other routes that you can actually look at that. But when you don't exercise or you don't exhaust those processes and then you use the criminal justice system as the first point of contact, then it raises concern then.
So has the NMC done enough, not just on this reference case that we are using as a peg, but has the NMC done enough to protect journalists?
Well, with their limited resources and the constraints they are operating with in terms of what they can do, they're doing their best. They are doing their best in the sense that, a lot of cases are resolved at the Media Commission level. They are resolved at the Media Commission level and it doesn't end up in court, because those are cases where if those people decide to go to court using the civil route, like defamation, it could have dire consequences on the media. The Media Commission comes in, resolve those issues and asks the people involved to apologize in one way or the other. Sometimes the media are vindicated by the National Media Commission, and the Media Commission comes out to strongly defend the media and say, in this particular instance, we don't think the media has done anything wrong. And there are instances where the Media Commission has come out to say, well, we think the media is wrong and therefore apologize. But in this particular situation, the difficulty that people are having is that, remember, Captain Smart has been arrested for potentially breaching a law, right, which is a criminal law. Now, the police is investigating that. Now, I have to give credit to the police because I was happy they granted him bail. Because you don't want to be using this route as a punishment, and because that can send wrong signal internationally. So I'm happy they gave him bail and they are investigating, because they have a responsibility. If they think anybody has done anything that has the tendency to or has breached the law, they have the responsibility to investigate. Now, because the thing is being investigated and is potential, it could end up in court. The National Media Commission, some are arguing, should have been very, 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 very restrained in terms of their comment, because when you look at that comment, there is a indication that they think that what he did was wrong, a suggestion that what he did was wrong. Now, if you are saying that what he did is wrong, two problems here. The case is being investigated by the police, and it will go to court, and everybody is innocent until proven guilty. Now, you have indirectly created the impression that, well, what he's done is wrong. And it is possible that that case might even end up coming before the National Media Commission if we want to avoid the criminal justice route.
So now, the statement issued by the NMC is on your screens at the moment. It's titled Unprofessional and Insightful Broadcast, and it reads, portions of a part of your broadcast raises concern for the peace and security of the nation in a manner that demands immediate regulatory action. We are particularly concerned about a recent broadcast in which Captain Smart calls for insurrection against the state of Ghana and its institutions. This, by all standards, crosses the line of robust and critical broadcasting and transforms a radio station into a megaphone of war. And they said, whilst that particular broadcast without more constitutes adequate grounds for regulatory action, we still retain the belief that given the chance, management could take steps to bring your content onto a level of professional acceptability. We are fortified in this belief by the fact that considerable part of your other broadcasts, including the news, offer that hope. We would be glad if you noted that exercising the required professional caution is in your interest. Media General quickly responded to the events that happened, and portions of the statement I've already read out to you, but the general impression from the statement is that the Media General is concerned about the new trend of arrests of journalists and media practitioners, and the statement says this recent trend of picking journalists has affected journalists who work with the Media General, who are simply doing their work and like every Ghanaian should be protected by the Constitution. It says that they are convinced that a careful review of the entire statement made by their colleague would reveal that it did not amount to threats to the peace and or stability of the country as claimed by the Ghana police. And the last bit of the statement says they continue to preach and exercise responsible journalism. So two organizations, the employer and the regulator, looking at the exact same circumstance and offering two opposing interpretations on the actions of a media practitioner. And so when you sit back as someone in the general public, you wonder, the same thing, we're all looking at the same thing, and yet we are seeing it differently. And that's where the concern is, because where do we draw the line?
Well, but that's not a problem, because anything that has to do with interpretation, there is bound to be different positions.
Varying opinions. Let's see if Ernest Boateng shares a different opinion, and we are trying to establish contact with him again. Vice President, Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association. Good morning, Ernest Boateng.
Yes, good morning.
Finally, we have you on the line. We're talking about media ethics, especially in relation to what happened last week with the invitation of Captain Smart by the Ghana Police Service and the interpretations being read into his comments on air. What are your initial thoughts?
Well, my initial thoughts are that, we should allow the investigation to go on, and at the end of the day, make sure that also media practitioners are given the full protection under the Constitution.
If you could speak up a little bit for us, that would be really...
Okay, can you hear me clearly now? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, please go ahead. We can hear you better now.
Okay, so what I was saying was that I think the police were very clear as to why they picked up Captain Smart, and the Media General has also been very clear as to their position. I think we should allow both the police to do its investigation and for it to come to the logical conclusion. But from a giver point of view, what we have done is that we have requested for the full recording from Media General before we come out with an official position.
You've asked for the full recording to be given to you because you want to analyze it in what context, if you'd like to share?
Well, I think in the context of why he was picked up, and again, in the context of what Media General is saying, and we want to draw our own independent conclusion before we come up with a statement.
So you're sitting on the fence on this one?
I wouldn't call it on the fence. Again, as I said, we are all for protection of the media, and we want to make sure that the public is also properly informed, and whatever happens, goes into the public space doesn't cause any disorder. But by the same token, we want to make sure that our members are also fully protected under the Constitution.
The regulator has come out with a statement, and they've called Captain Smart's pronouncement, according to the title of their press statement, unprofessional and insightful. You think you do not agree with the NMC's route on this?
I can't say I agree or disagree. That's why I said we have called for the recording, and then once we listen to the recordings in its entirety, then we'll be in a position to state what we think. I think NMC listened to it and he came out to that position, which is very respectable. can grant at time, we'll also listen and then come up with our position.
What are your impressions generally of conduct of practitioners in this space as Giba?
Well, I think for the most part, there is responsible reporting. From time to time, you get these outliers who report in an unsavory manner. But I think generally, general reporting in Ghana, it's fair and balanced, and it's informed with people. So I don't think there's much room for discontent, if you will.
Do I get the impression that you do not think the media land space is beset with unprofessional conduct and other insightful statements?
I mean, I think generally the landscape is it's fine. Again, after I said, there are outliers that from time to time say things that are unsavory, and I think it's up to the management as well as the regulator to caution that if they fall outside the boundaries of ethical journalism.
It suggests then that a lot more can be done. What solutions or suggestions would you proffer?
Well, I think first of all, media owners also need to make sure that the people that they put on air are properly educated as to what and what not to do when they are on air. And as Mr. Tanko says, I think there are certain things that need to be done to ensure that reporting is done properly. I think we had mentioned that hate speech, inciting violence, and all these other things have no place in the media landscape. And so media owners, again, have to ensure that their editorial policies are not contrary to what we expect things to be in the media landscape.
Is it time to revisit the conversation on qualifications for practitioners, especially in an age of social media and citizen journalism?
Come again, please.
Is it time for us to look at the qualification of journalists again, because now there's social media and a lot more people are getting involved in reporting who are not actually journalists?
Well, I mean, I don't think you can really determine who is a journalist or who is not a journalist at this point in time. But the general consensus is that, look, we have to ensure that whatever we put out in the public space is sanitized and it doesn't incite any unrest in any society. In certain societies, they have ways of managing this, but I think in other societies, it's very difficult to manage it. So that's why sometimes the law enforcement comes in to ensure that there is peace, if you will, and reporting is not done in a very irresponsible manner.
Right, I think we will leave the matter here for now, and once you've had the opportunity to review the tape that you've asked for, perhaps we can have another conversation, Ernest.
Very well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Ernest Boateng is the Vice President of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, GIBA. He's been sharing his thoughts on recent happenings concerning the arrest of Captain Smart and what it means for practice in general of the journalism profession. Still at the table with me, lawyer Zakaria Musa Tanko, a lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Journalism, is helping us to understand these issues better. Mr. Tanko, you heard the tail end of the conversation about qualifications, and it's quite interesting when that issue comes up, because it seems as if broadcasters can be broadcasters and journalists at the same time, but broadcasting and journalism are not necessarily the same, and there's a lot of gray area there. What does it mean?
Well, you see, the difficulty when people talk about regulating the entry to journalism, defining who is a journalist, is that one of the things that journalists do, I mean, express freedom of opinion, free speech and all these things. Those things are not things that are peculiar or unique to journalists. They are rights that every human being has. And so when you say restrict who becomes a journalist, anytime you attempt to restrict who becomes a journalist, then basically you are indirectly trying to restrict the issue about freedom of expression, and that is why then it becomes problematic. That is why all over the world it's very difficult for you to restrict the entry into journalism, because what do journalists do? They inform and educate. And how do they do that? They inform and educate by expressing their views and all those things. Now, that's what ordinary people do. And so that is why there is always the advocacy towards self-regulation. Let's regulate ourselves. Let's make sure we are guided by some rules and regulations within the code of ethics. That would differentiate the professional journalist from ordinary person.
Perhaps that's why people want journalists to get some form of training in journalism, so that they will be able to move a step further from being regular citizens, enjoying freedom of speech and freedom of expression and association, and then accepting to work or to adhere to a certain higher standard.
Well, training, if you say training, what form of training? Are you saying are you talking about training in the sense of going to sit in a tertiary institution and go through a 4-year degree or a master's degree or a diploma? People get training on the job. As a matter of fact, some of the accomplished journalists the world over have never actually been to journalism school. So training, yes, it can be formal, it can be informal. But of course, you don't just walk into any profession without some level of training. Yet, on that score, absolutely necessary. But that is where the burden of responsibility should be shifted towards the employers themselves. Because how do you employ somebody who hasn't got the requisite capacity to actually do the job you are employing the person to do, just because the person has the gift of the tongue, if you like? So that is what is the problem. So the issue of the professionalism, yes, the training institutions have a responsibility to play there in terms of looking at their curricula and matching it with the current trends that we are having. And then the employers as well, when they're employing people, they also have to take up certain responsibility. Because even if the person has gone through journalism training, he has a degree and he comes in there should be regular capacity building. There should be continuous capacity development where you link, if you like, the person's progression, promotion, bonus and all those things to the person's ethical conduct in terms of the delivery of the person's work. Now, when you link it to that, if you know that, as a matter of fact, if I am found to have acted unprofessionally, unethically, it may lead to a situation where I don't get promoted. It may lead to a situation where maybe they may not even confirm my probation and all those things. You will start acting responsibly. But there is a bigger picture here. You know, people talk about we need to crack the whip, and the whip has to be cracked by the National Media Commission. We have a disconnect where you have the National Communications Authority issuing licenses to, if you like, radio channels and TV channels, and then you have the National Media Commission being the regulator. That has nothing to do with that. Now, if you are not the one who gave me the license, how then do you turn around and say, because I've done A, B, C, D, you're going to really crack the whip and take? So that's why we need to look at that framework again and connect them, because without that it leads to a lot of unprofessionalism. And of course, the ownership of some of these radio stations, people get them for political reasons and all those things, and we encourage some of these things as a matter of fact.
But if we can't regulate qualification or entry levels for journalism, same way I would think we can't also regulate ownership. So everyone just needs to play by certain rules.
Why can't you regulate ownership? Because ownership is a statutory thing, and we can define what we want. But when it comes to regulating entry into journalism, it is linked to a fundamental human right. And when something is linked to a fundamental human right, you cannot say, well, you need to have A, B, C, D. I mean, we may try it, but the people who challenge that as a breach of their fundamental human right to freedom of expression.
You're a journalism lecturer, and you also continuously study what happens in the media space. To what extent would you say media ownership affects conduct of professionals in the industry?
Well, undoubtedly it does. It does, because you see, we know that the ownership of the media is divided between the political parties. The people who have political ideologies go in for licenses, and when they come, they also have their own ideology, that the editorial policies that they want to pursue. But irrespective of that, see, nothing stops any media house from saying that this is our position, this is our ideology, this is what we want to advocate, this is what we want to pursue. But what you cannot do is to hide behind that and perpetuate unfairness, injustice, untruth, because the code of ethics is against that. And you have to be open and transparent in whatever you do. But we have a situation where people are hiding behind the radio, television, and perpetuating their political ideology and creating the impression as if they're doing journalism. Certainly that cannot be the case. There is a problem. Because recently when Media Foundation for West Africa conducted some research, they came out to show clearly that the local radio TV station, the local media houses have been engaging in some a level of breaches of media ethics. And it is because when the platform was open for this development of local radio stations, there hasn't been a commensurate a movement by the training institutions to fill a gap. So you go to any of our training institutions here, there's no room there for local media training. And yet there are people who are already operating in that
But
in that
is
space.
it not the same principles that you, from English, that you would expect should flow smoothly into the local radio station? Surely a journalist who presents in Chi or Ga or Ewe does not have a different set of standards or ethics from one who presents in English.
No, you won't have a different set of standards. You won't have, but the contextualization of what you do in the local language has to be brought to bear to you. So, for instance, if you say, do not do anything that promotes hatred, that can lead to the breach of the peace in English language. How do you translate that in practical terms into a local language? You need to start practicalizing it, because you see, the code of ethics are so fanciful if you look at them, right?
So it looks good on paper, but
you
in
need to
practice,
let people understand what it means in real practice. That is where we have the problem.
Let me touch on one last thing before I take your final comment. Remuneration of journalists is one area where a lot of people think practitioners get compromised. How are we doing? How can we do better?
Well, it is an open secret that it is not. It is one of those areas where it's not well paid. I mean, it is an open secret. Nobody can lie about that. Journalists, there are some media houses where people don't get paid. They are expected to go and fend for themselves. There are some media houses where they're giving people what they're giving them. It's not a living wage.
And do you think it feeds into the conduct of the personnel?
Of course, because see, at the end of the day, it's about ethics. Right? It's about morals. Some people are principled, irrespective of how much you're paying them. They'll be very professional. But some people would also look at it and think, well, if I can get this and do this, why not? So it's a matter of, and this comes back to the regulation. We pay a lot of lip service to say, well, Ghana, we have free media, media is independent.
At what cost?
But at what cost? If economically we are not free, right? If you are not economically free, then that independence that the Constitution has given you is meaningless.
Your final comments before.
My final comment is that I like the position that Giba has taken. They are being very cautious. They are cautious because this may lead up to criminal prosecution. And when something is going to lead up to criminal prosecution, you do not comment in a way that would prejudice the matter. But certainly, the media, we have to realize that we have been given a privileged position. It's not because we are more intelligent than any other profession or anybody. We have been given that position because of what we do for the public, and we have to use it responsibly. If we fail to be responsible, then we play into the hands of the politician, who would now feed into the emotions of the people who are worried about what they're seeing and say, oh, the media is misbehaving, so let's regulate them. The politician would then come in and take advantage of that and regulate. And when the politician tries to regulate the media, he's not doing it because it is in the interest of the public. He's doing it because he or she, the politician, wants to protect its political interest, and that is a tragedy. But we have a responsibility to prevent them from doing that. And the only way we can do that is to be responsible in our reportage.
The media should be responsible is the parting word I'm picking from lawyer Zakaria Musa Tanko, lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Journalism, my former school. So we have some links. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. We've been looking at the issue of media and ethics and how we can all contribute to sanitizing our airwaves. The key call is for media practitioners to be responsible at all times and to uphold the ethics of the profession. Valerie is getting ready to talk about some Gold Awards 2021, and thanks to Airtel Tigo, the Yellow Couch will be coming away live after this break.
Come on. Akope na kojo. Medi miti kwa kodo. Enimre mesi kro. Me busi an yeda. Down on the for me.
Are you ready? It's heat hot and we are serving you breakfast. A la carte.
It's a brand new packaged breakfast served on GTV, our style, keeping you on track and updated on
news, making the headlines, how to navigate traffic,
what's up with the weather,
your health check, getting you up to speed on
lifestyle,
sports,
word of showbiz, what's hot and what's not.
It's our date in the morning just for you, with the team you can trust.
It's breakfast weekdays at 6 a.m.
Don't be late.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast.
Not just any breakfast.
Sizzling healthy.
A la carte. Yeah, all the time. Okay, let's take a peek. I brought my spine.
There are certain things that we do to help the children with their brushing.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
You want it served buffet style?
On-site restaurant.
Complimentary breakfast?
Off of your plate chicken vegetables. So in my lifetime, I haven't seen Ghana Black Stars win an African Cup.
Can I show what is written on the box?
Yes, definitely.
Where's the camera?
Just stand and turn.
So what's your pleasure than Botras, yeah? At that time of the morning. So never.
State Award Scheme, an affiliate of the Duke of Edinburgh International Award, will host 160 young achievers to celebrate this year's National Gold Award. So before we get into the conversation proper and delve into matters, we're going to take a quick break to acknowledge Airtel Tigo, responsible for my side of the couch, the breakfast table. So here's a quick break.
You know 15,000 Ghana cedis. Sapato the bed.
May the better cement.
Yeah, me who see kakesi no menu so pretty.
I start to go fee. When I go get 10,000.
Ah, good. But can pato the kwede.
The be chairman.
But we any then or we get
star 500 hash.
Let me say nyam papra. My winnie for 5,000 komiso.
Debia ye be mesika. It is our Airtel Tigo so a make sure say what dial star 500 hash no activate it to go miss no.
Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
My name is Ben. On GTV Breakfast.
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.
We've got you
At High Hills in the Greater Accra region.
Hello everyone, my name is Okujeto Patrick Tete, a gold award holder. I did my gold expedition at Shire Hills in the Greater Accra region.
Hi, my name is Enambetsina from a girl of 19 years and I'm a gold award holder and just completed St. Rose's Senior High School.
Josephine Tudika is my name, a student of the University of Ghana. I'm so excited to share my impact story as a gold award holder of the Head of State Awards scheme.
I did creative writing as my skills development and then teaching assistance for my voluntary service, and I also did working for my physical activity.
I did public speaking for my skill and physical training for my physical recreation activity. And for my community service, I did leadership and service to the community.
I also did personal assisting in teaching for my skills development, where I taught my people in my class under the supervision of my lecturer at the University of Ghana.
For my skills, I learned how to prepare sobolo, which gave me the idea on how to use the palm plantation my parents have to transform it into something meaningful.
That gave me the platform to exhibit my...
Welcome back. And so we gave you some snippets of what the Gold Awards actually are and then some of the winners. So I have in studio the Executive Director, the Head of State Award Scheme Ghana, Mr. Peter Akai Anum, and then I have one of the Gold awardees, the 2021 Gold awardees in studio, Josephine Tudeka. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my side of the breakfast table. When you were, in the lounge waiting to come, did you see the other stuff that was going on? It was a bit hard, wasn't it? So I tend to, soften things a bit. Are you okay? Are you feeling the vibe?
I'm feeling the vibe.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So kindly tell us what the whole the award scheme is about. Is this one, we have the 2021 National Gold Award, and then also we have the Head of State Award. Are they two different things? Are they the same thing?
Well, it's one in one. So,
okay. So it's a subset of one.
Yes. So
okay, sure.
basically, the Head of State Award scheme, Valerie, it's a youth development framework that seeks to challenge young people to do things and learn outside the wall of the classroom. Learning goes beyond the wall of the classroom, and some of the very important lessons we pick up growing up, are things or activities we get engaged in outside the wall of the classroom. In fact, I'm sure you could really relate to this. You can remember the first time you're going somewhere and you get lost.
Yes.
You can remember the experience, right? Even now till your old age, right? But I'm sure you may have forgotten some of the very things you learned in the classroom at GSS. So
totally different from what's
absolutely,
really on the ground.
Absolutely. So we believe that young people need experiences and exposures, positive ones, of course. A lot of young people have a lot of time on their hands if effectively utilized, or if they are effectively guided to utilize those times well. It has the potential of adding value to themselves in terms of employability, in terms of building their confidence, instead of making them resilient, instead of making them creative, all right? And those are the things that sometimes we don't really celebrate.
Yeah.
We don't really celebrate them. And so the award scheme is all about challenging young people, first of all, to challenge themselves, to initiate projects and initiatives by they themselves with the help of adult guides, coaches and mentees. We call them assessors, right? And as they do that in their formative years, 14 years to 24 years, they learn from it. If they're saying, the very old saying that experience is the best teacher. Okay. Then, of course, when young people at their formative years, where they form behaviors, they form attitudes, and then they make decisions into their career, then they must be exposed, all right, and they must experience positive, challenges that would, in the long while, add value to themselves and prepare them for life and work.
Right.
And so we're talking about sharpening their skills, talking about building their confidence, talking about making them resilient, talking about having belief in themselves at such a younger age, and we celebrate them. And so that is basically what the award scheme is all about.
Right. The award scheme has been around for 54 years. That's way older than lots of people here.
Including myself.
Including yourself. Okay, so maybe from when you took over or from your predecessors, tell us about the steady growth of the scheme. 54 years keeping this back to back, it's not easy.
Well, yes, you are very right. The program started in 1967. General Champon, it started as the Duke of Edinburgh Award, let me say. And so basically the Duke of Edinburgh Award is the program founded by the husband of the Queen of England.
Sure.
His Royal Highness Prince Philip, who passed on recently. Right, so it is his program. He developed it for UK, and because of the Commonwealth and the viability of the program, it started spreading around the world, and it came to Ghana 10 years after. And General Champon saw that it was a very good program. You know, he believed in do it yourself. He believed in young people. He believed in we doing things for ourselves as a country. And so he adopted it and changed it into a Head of State Award scheme. And that's how come the name has been Head of State Award scheme. Basically, he championed the whole program as a national youth development, and it has remained like that. And subsequently, all the past presidents, I might say that, have played their major role, key role as national patrons to spearhead the whole program, to challenge more young people in the country. We have actually seen quite, a lot of impactful stories from the award scheme ever since it started. Thousands of young people in Ghana have taken on the challenge, and I must say that each and every one of them, the award story is different. It works for the rich, it works for the poor, it works for the most affluent young people in the community, it works for the vulnerable. Everybody. You just have to take on the challenge and set targets and then work towards those targets. Right. And I think for the program, how it is flexible, it's not a competition. We don't pick and select. There's nothing like, okay, so these people are nominated and so people should vote. No. It's more about young people wanting to challenge themselves. They set their own target within the minimum requirement of 6 months to 18 months, and then they work towards it. And that's a qualified one for an award. 6 months to 18 months. Yes. Right. This year we've selected 160 young achievers. How were they selected? Josephine, you're part of the 160 that were selected this year. Yes. Okay. Before I come to that and he tells us more, I know that there's a bronze and then there's a silver, yes, and then this is the gold. So is it 3 different awards? Yes, so there are 3 different awards in the scheme. So, and it's progressive, bronze, silver, and gold. Some of them receiving gold today are already bronze awardees. They've already also received silver. So it is progressive because, like I said earlier on, the whole program is a youth development and it's meant to refine young people to be well prepared for life and work. And so I always liken the award scheme to the way our school system is. Form 1, GSS 1, GSS 2, GSS 3. You know, when you move from Form 1, all right, after you have passed your exams, all right, which in that case is the requirement, you can progress to Form 2, right? You could do the same subject but different and improved, of the subjects that you do. The same way, after bronze, you can now go to the silver and take on the gold challenge. Right. So the 160 we are celebrating on Thursday is the highest. That is the gold. Those who have actually, completed all the gold requirements at the gold level. So all 160 are gold awardees. Yes. Wow. Okay. But a lot of young people in the country have gained bronze and silver already this year, because that one is done at a lower level. Okay. It is hosted at the regional level. Sometimes the regional ministers does it. It's hosted at the school level. So you go to, say, Every Girls, at the bronze level, they can organize their own award ceremony. So it's sort of, it's progressive. It's progressive. Right. Right. Josephine, I'm not going to ask your age, but what prompted you to enter this competition?
Okay, I can't remember way back in school, Fijai Secondary School.
Fijai was here last week, you know that, right? You guys are celebrating your 70th.
Yes, please. Good. It was publicized in our school, so I developed an interest of entering into the club. But first of all, I took time to go to YouTube to watch both local and international videos on how the award has impacted young people and how it will benefit me as a young person. So that's how come I joined the award. Okay, and so now you are a gold awardee. Yes. What did you do? What were the processes? Okay, the processes and the experience are many, but I'll touch on a few. So my first experience was when I went to, I had my bronze expedition at Impoho, where my group and I were assigned to go to Awonakrom in the western part of Ghana. So when we went there, my group and I decided to talk on the topic investment into child's education and personal hygiene. Upon counseling other people in the community, it helped me convince an elderly man that told me that because of what you said, Josephine, I'm going for a loan to take my ward to school. And I was so proud of achieving that as a young person, because at the, to be in secondary SHS 1 and saying that to an elderly man to give me such a feedback, I was so impressed. Also, I did my community service at 37 Military Hospital. After that time, my level of education couldn't have offered me the opportunity to be in such an institution, but through the Head of State Award scheme, I had the opportunity to have my community service there, where I worked with some of the health team members and also learned how to use some of the health facilities, gadgets, and that bet my heart desire to become a gynecologist in future. So through that, I got to know where my interests lie. Yeah. And also with my skills and interests, I learned how to prepare sobolo, of which after learning, I decided to put it into practice. Now I prepare sobolo and distribute to people around my community and school, of which the profits I invest into my palm oil business, because through that I thought of it that if my parents have a palm nut plantation, then I can make something out of it. So now I'm into manufacturing and distribution of palm oil, that's Zomi, yes, to food vendors and people on campus who sell stuff.
And you're investing into your Zomi business from the profits you're making from the Sobolo business.
Yes,
and that's what you learned and impacted from this award scheme.
Yes, please.
Wow.
And even through the activities that I went through, I was nominated. I was an ambassador for the National Academy of Student Achievement Awards Ghana. So they saw what I was doing, and I was nominated to be part of the Student Entrepreneur of the Year. By God's grace, I won the Student Entrepreneur of the Year for this year, and I'm so happy.
And you're also a gold awardee. I can see why. I can see why you were picked. I can see why you were picked.
Well, I mean, Valerie, she was not picked. She decided to challenge herself. You know, the thing about the program is that we don't select, and so there's no panel somewhere who would say that this year, because of what you have done, before you can get the award, you have to do the activities before you can qualify for an award.
Okay. But she deserves it from all that she said.
She did that because she was doing that for her award. She's here to receive the award.
She's receiving the award this Thursday.
Yes, this Thursday.
But she worked towards it.
Exactly. So the whole program is you set a target and you work towards it, and you must show progressive on improvement to gain the award.
Wow. Well, congratulations to all the 160 awardees. Okay, so it's happening on Thursday.
Yes.
Where? Is the general public invited?
Well,
maybe virtually.
Well, virtually, yes. General public is invited. It's really by invitation because of COVID and where it's happening. It's happening at the Jubilee House.
Okay.
At the seat of the president. On Thursday, His Excellency the President would play host to these young people who are, and this is one of the many stories of those who are receiving the award on Thursday. Right. Another theme, you know, driving youth entrepreneurship. The award scheme as a tool. Right. And Josephine is one of the examples of how the award makes young people entrepreneurial.
Right. Before we go though, if other young people are watching us and they also want to sign on to it and challenge themselves, which portal should we use? Websites? Is there a place we should come to? One number we should call? Just one.
Well, so we are on social media, Facebook, you type Head of State Award Scheme. We are there. You go to Instagram, you type HOSA Ghana. We are there. And if our office is located currently at the Teachers Hall at Adabraka. Right. So once you get there, you can also be in touch with us. Other than that, you can reach us on 02 42862719. 0242862719. You can just send us a WhatsApp message or a call, and we'll direct you.
But you have to be above 14 years.
Yes, 14.
So the age bracket is between 14 and 20.
And that is the only barrier.
That's the only barrier.
That is the only barrier.
Right.
Beyond that, you know, anybody who is within that age can sign up and challenge himself or herself.
Right. Thank you for coming. And we've been speaking with the head of State Award, the executive director, Mr. Peter Akai Anum, and Josephine Tudeka, a 2021 Gold Awardee. And this Thursday, everybody's all of us are going to be leading to the presidency, because that's where the 160 Gold Awardees are going to be presented with their medals, and so we are saying congratulations. And then also, if you go to the online portals and the number that Mr. Anum mentioned, and if you are young and you want to challenge yourself, you should get on the scheme, and you never know, next year by this time you'll be the one sitting in Josephine's place. And so we'll take a quick break. The hashtag to follow is still GTV Breakfast.
I learned how to prepare sobolo, which gave me the idea on how to use the palm plantation my parents have to transform it into something meaningful.
Also gave me the platform to exhibit my public speaking talent.
At the face of the awards, great achievements are being nurtured through the cooperation of many minds, of youths just like me, from different backgrounds, from different walks of life. And I've learned a lot. The award has gifted me with employability skills that has made me ready for the job market.
The most memorable thing for me during the award was when I went for my expedition at Awonakrom, where my group and I decided to talk about personal hygiene and investment into a child's education.
The hiking activity where we went to the Ejuku Hills. And then I got to learn about teamwork because we were holding hands whilst ascending the hill. I got to learn that when one person falls, then the whole group falls. And then when we hold each other and then we move forward, we can all achieve what we want to at the end of the day.
Leadership skill gave me the opportunity to go into leadership, and leadership does not come alone. Giving back to the community is very essential. So I had this passion of coming up with an NGO body which is made up of young ones like myself.
Our most memorable thing throughout the award journey is planting of trees during my residential project. And I'm very glad that I was able to take part in that activity. I mean, planting trees for generations yet unborn to enjoy the shade of it alone gives me some joy in my heart.
I wrote my first piece of work and then presented it to my assessor, who assessed and then encouraged me to do more. And as I speak, I've started with my first book, which is to be published next year.
No. Welcome. And so I'm just proud to have spoken to Josephine. She has 2 businesses, guys.
Even an award winner, and you are proud.
Apart from the fact that she's an award winner, she has 2 businesses.
How many businesses do you have?
Charlie. Okay, guys.
Now I have to go and start learning to make sobolo.
Yeah, I think so. We should start it around here.
Yep. As for the Zomi, I'll leave it to
Kav.
Yay.
Today you are stabbed into the inner Igbema.
One time. You don't read, me do.
It's a raid.
I mean,
you know why I like Josephine? My mom was called Josephine. So every Josephine or Abla or Olivia is my friend.
Oh,
yes,
nice.
yes.
But the strike or not, what happened?
Life must go on. Well,
there's football.
They can't even understand it. So strike, then there's no strike or somehow
no strike.
There's half strike. It's like half clutch, you know.
So
play football.
You know, they say that you make lemonades.
Yes. Out of your lemons.
Out of your lemons. Okay. And so we'll bring you a clip. You have to watch this because while the some transport operators are off duty and on strike, hey, you're making the most of the day. You might want to stay and watch this. It's coming up right now on your screens. Okay, and so those drivers, those first drivers there, they are having a field day, man. They are playing football on a Monday morning. Wowzy!
They converted the park into into a pack.
I tell you guys.
The station into a pack.
Multi-purpose.
That's all. Ah, you see now.
And so that's our video of the day on GTV Breakfast. That's the hashtag to follow. We encourage you to follow and share our pages. We are on Facebook as the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. We are on YouTube as the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. We're on Twitter as the GBC Ghana and on Instagram as GBC Online. We encourage you to send your comments, your videos, hey, and what you think about us, our conversations and whatever we discuss on here. It's a pleasure inviting us into your homes, on your phones, into your offices and everywhere, guys. And from us here, we're wishing you have a great Monday.
Thank you.
Don't be caught in any church fracas.
Any cheers,
football anywhere.
Cheers on my week. Any cheers.
Any cheers.
Charlie, shout out to all the people who love us and we love them.